want to focus on while we can't succeed, we can make that very real. Whatever we focus on, we get. Some things you talked about are very real. But what we have to do again is condition ourselves to change those beliefs that the outside world is going to determine our success. The only thing that's going to determine it is the inside world. The things that you believe and the actions you take every day are what shape your destiny. And although there will be challenges, there's no doubt. Although people will judge you, there's no doubt. Although the people put up walls, there's no doubt. But you can make it through those walls if you focus on where's the hole. If you focus on how do I get over the wall or under it or around it. And people that succeed focus on what they can do, how to make things work, instead of focusing on, well, it probably won't work anyway, so why even try? If you look for answers, if you focus on answers, you'll get them. But you gotta not give up. You gotta stop making excuses. You gotta take some action. That's what personal power is. The ability to take action in spite of all the fears, in spite of all the reasons why you couldn't make it.
You're believing the most limiting thoughts. And you have to remember, we all have a 2-million-year-old brain. And it's not designed to make you happy, it's designed to make you survive. So it's always looking for what's wrong. Remember we played the game Look for Brown, and you all saw beige and called it brown just to feel successful? I said look for red, you saw burgundy, you called it red, so you could get more scores. Whatever you're looking for, seek and ye shall what? Find. It says that in a very good book called The Good Book. And you don't have to be religious to understand this, that this is a fact of life. So if you and I are going to really take things to a different level, we got to see what could mess it up. So the mind could mess it up, but what aspect of the mind? What makes us start to believe those thoughts? What's the emotion that messes us up? What is it? It's absolutely fear. But there's more than this. Every day of our lives, we live in a world that is incredibly complex. It is no more stressful than World War II, when none of us in this room probably remember that time. But it looked like democracy was disappearing and the Germans were going to win at one stage. That's stressful. Being in a foxhole is stressful. You're not making as much money as you want, or being a little overweight, or someone calling you names online. That is not stressful. We're making it stressful. We've lost perspective. Who's with me on this? Say aye. So what's really useful, I think, today is for us to figure out what messes us up. And one of the biggest things that messes us up is expectation. Right? What did we say the other day? Trade your expectations for appreciation, and your whole life changes. Because when you're expecting things and it doesn't happen, you get upset. So that first day also was all about, what if you lived your life and you made a decision? And the decision was, life is too short to suffer. It's too short to be stressed, pissed off, fearful, worried. Who's with me on this? Say aye. But our minds, our survival software, is always looking for what's wrong. Our job is to create the happiness. And the only way you do that is you draw a line in the sand and say, I'm not going to suffer. I'm going to be honest. If I start to feel that stress, I'm going to breathe, and I'm going to realize we're the only creatures on the planet that can think a thought and become angry. Think a thought and become playful. Think a thought and be worried. Think a thought and feel loved. That's why we can change how fast? But you have to take control and train this brain. If you don't train this brain, it'll use you instead of you using it. You have to identify with your heart or your soul or your spirit instead of the brain. As I said, in China, the heart is the emperor. It is the highest energy. It's the thing that is worshipped, because when you were born, there was no brain. Your heart started beating and there wasn't a brain in you as a fetus. It has its own intelligence. It produces hormones that strengthen your bones. It is the strongest force in your immune system. This is the ticket. This is what we get caught up in. We want to use the head and heart together, and then we have the power of both of them. So to do that, though, we got to give up the expectation that people are going to behave the way we want them to. Because what are the chances, if your happiness is dependent upon everyone around you, your mother behaving the way you think she should, your father, your brother, your sister, your coworkers, your employees, what are the chances of everybody living the way you think they should? On a 0 to 100% scale, what are the chances? So why would we allow this to be? Because it's just a bad habit.
I think there's a lot of roads to the mountaintop. I have the perspective that I have because that was my journey, and I had to start figuring out how to walk in the darkness, because that's kind of what it's like.
What darkness? What do you mean?
Like, meaning when you're caught in this psychocybernetic loop.
Can you define psychocybernetics?
Yeah, so it's this idea that what you believe will dictate your thoughts on a moment-by-moment basis. So if you believe that, money's hard to make. As a simple example, you're not going to have ideas or thoughts around money that would be lending to making it easily, right? And so what you believe dictates what you think. You can't get like an apple from an orange tree. And what you think you then experience is an emotion, right? And then that emotion then dictates what actions you do or do not take. And they're always aligned, right? Your beliefs dictate your thoughts, dictate your emotions, dictate your actions, which produce your results. And your results, when you look at them, then just reinforce the original belief. And so we're caught in that construct, right? But the linchpin is the belief system. So the question is, how do I actually change what I believe? If my beliefs really do dictate my destiny, right? Which is, I'm not the only person suggesting that. The question becomes, how do I change my beliefs? And in that is an inherent challenge, because by definition, beliefs are that which are true, right, for us. And so then the question is, how do we break out of this? My way of breaking out of it was at one point to understand, and I'll start to kind of walk you through the structure of it, to understand that there were only two states of emotional beingness that I could be in at any given point in time. I could either be in a powerful state of being, states like joy, curiosity, excitement, calm, peace, passion, or I would be in a primal state of being, boredom, anger, frustration, some form of fear. I'm always in one of those two states, and I'm never in two states at one time. Now, those map beautifully to the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system, right? So at any moment, we're either in fight or flight or we're in rest and relaxation. Through my journey, what I realized was the only cause of that switch to be flipped was my own thinking. The meaning that I was giving the experience. The experience itself wasn't dictating whether I was in a primal state or a powerful state, whether I was in sympathetic fight or flight or parasympathetic rest and restoration or relaxation. It was the meaning I was giving the experience. And so that meant that all of my personal suffering was within my own control. I needed to start controlling the meaning I was giving the experiences of life.
I'm a huge believer in identity driving behaviors. I have a hard time explaining to people, though, how to adopt a new identity. How have you done it in your own life? I think that's the best.
Yeah, I mean, my identity, obviously this is a work in progress, right? I would say that I would start with they call it the two smallest words in the English language, but they're the two most powerful words in the English language. It's I am, right? I am, because whatever you put after that determines your destination or your destiny, right? And I think your identity is who you believe you are. And I feel like when we're talking about playing to the edge of our limits and really playing there and living in that place where we're stretching, I do believe, and I get inspired every time I see your Insta story. You're like, it's like 4:30 and you're working out, you're doing your work, but that's who you are, right? You don't have to fight it because you can't imagine yourself not doing that. And that's the level of that I think is what's most important. So I would think about going through an exercise, and I've done this with friends. I've had them sit, or in groups, we do these conferences and such, and I have people pair up with someone they don't know, and what they're going to do is they're going to do an exercise, I am, and they're going to talk about, they're literally going to fill in the blanks for 3 minutes until I call time.
Wow.
So you have to go and you could do this right now. Like if you were to fill in I am blank, like I would say, I am a student, I am a teacher, I am a son, I am all this. And
right.
But eventually I'll get to a point where I don't know what else to say. And that's what the real interesting answers come out of, right? Because it's a great way for networking and knowing somebody else. But it also shows us this really big tapestry of our life to the point that we've gotten to right now, where I relate to these aspects of ourselves. And I think it's a nice exercise when we talk about self-awareness being a superpower, really knowing who we think we are. Because if we don't believe that we're our public speaker, or we're a great parent, or we're a great learner or genius, then we'll never be able to reach our full potential, because that will always be the ceiling that we bump up against.
People have a story, I can't find love because my dad left when I was 1. I can't find love because mum preferred my brother. I can't be a success because I never went to university. I can't speak in public because I blush. And without understanding, when you describe why you can't, you keep it going. If you keep talking about the symptom, your mind keeps it alive, because whatever you focus on, you get more of. And so a lot of people have language that's completely irrelevant. Like, yes, I know your dad left when you was one. I know your mother put you up into foster care and didn't love you, but that's then. This is now. And so they have outdated stories, outdated language. I can't do that because the classic one I heard, oh my God, my boyfriend just ripped out my heart, stamped all over it, killed me. And if I find love again, it will kill me. I'm like, darling, he got bored. And you would have got bored too if you'd stuck around. And that was your starter relationship. Go and find a better one with someone amazing. Everything he loved in you, you didn't take it home with him. It's still there. So don't use that irrelevant, I found love and it killed me when it ended. So I found love, the wrong person, but I'm going to find it again with the right person. It's going to be amazing and compelling. He's going to fall in love with my soul. And you'll be together forever, because you've got to turn your mind on, and it loves exciting words, dramatic words, really loves words that make a picture. So if I said to you, you can be the most phenomenal, powerful, awesome, incredible speaker. When you speak on stage, everyone stops to listen. You could hear a pin drop. They look at you. They hear what you're saying. They like you. The mind goes, oh, I like this. I know where I'm going here. But when you go, I'm not bad at speaking. Sometimes I'm quite good. Occasionally, I really get it right. The mind goes, what are you talking about? That's not dramatic enough for me.
This is going back sometimes. I think in 1992 we were stuck, but I knew there was more possibility. There was room for growth, and I wanted to figure out if the stuff that I did in the 80s when I was a kid, that broke free, would it work with some of my agents. And so we took 75 agents, randomly. Agents said, hey, do you want to get into a 6-month program to retrain your brain, your subconscious brain, around your beliefs about what is possible for you to achieve, around your habits of what you have to do in order to achieve that. And we focused on retraining their subconscious mind. And so for 6 months, they had to go through a process of listening to audio tapes, reading certain materials every day, and following the process of training their brain, specifically their subconscious brain, which controls 95 to 98% of all of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors today. And within 6 months, that group increased sales by $100 million.
Jesus.
$100 million. And I said, holy shit, right? This is working. And so we started to teach. Some of what we teach now in NeuroGym, actually now we have the technologies, we have the systems that are far better than what we did back in the 90s. And we went from 1.2 billion to 4.5 billion a year. And it wasn't because we taught them any more skills to be real estate agents. We taught them how to change the way they thought about themselves. We taught them how to change their habits. Our agents who made $750,000 or more were in front of a client 75% of the time. And we asked all the agents that weren't in front of more clients, why are you doing that? Why aren't you in front of people that are going to help you earn more income? Oh, well, we're busy doing this and doing this and doing this, and they had stories and excuses and reasons why.